Okay. Here's a comment, guys. Eddie Alexandre, the CEO of MNFX, is going in prison. I think you mean going to prison for 9 years on August. I think you mean in August. NOVATECH CEO will be the next if they keep people's money. Okay, let me read that again. Eddie Alexandre, the CEO of MNFX, is going to prison for 9 years in August. NOVATECH CEO will be next if they keep people's money. Okay, well, first and foremost, these are two separate cases that you're talking about. Okay, you can't say what just because something happened in one case that the exact same thing is going to happen in another case, right? That's not true. It's every case is different, right? And so we will talk a little bit about MNFX, and we'll talk a little bit about Eddie Alexandre. But the main thing that I want to respond to with your question is, I just, or not even your question, your comment is that no, I mean, if they play ball, they're not going to go to prison, right? That's the thing. If they play ball, they're not going to go to prison, but the government probably will get some of some of our money, right? That's probably more likely what's going to happen. So they call it a victims fund, right? The victims fund. The problem is the victims never get the victims fund, right? But I think that if Novatech is willing to play ball and they're willing to say, okay, you're saying this is not compliant, fine. We didn't know that this was not compliant, and of course, they're going to do through lawyers and legal aids and things of that nature. You're saying it wasn't compliant. Okay, fine. What is compliant? How can we do something that's compliant? We want to obey your rules. We want to follow you. We want to be legal and we want to be legitimate. How do you get that? Right? That's not necessarily what happened with Eddie Alexandre, right? According to what has come out in the news, Eddie Alexandre was running a Ponzi scheme and ended up in prison for that. So that's going to be a different situation than what's going on with Novatech. And you think that they'll go to prison? That's kind of extreme, man. Most people don't go to prison, right? Well, when they're in Novatech situation, it's more of a thing of, hey, okay, you're saying I'm doing something illegal. I'm going to come back and saying, okay, how do we change this? How do we fix this? How You're saying we're not compliant? Okay, how do we become compliant? Right? And that's the steps that are happening right now. Okay, so nobody's head is on the chopping block, right? Nobody's going to prison, right? It's just not it's apples and oranges what you're comparing it to. So basically, MNFX Ponzi quote unquote Ponzi scammer, Eddie Alexandre, has been sentenced to 9 years in prison. Following a guilty plea back in February, Alexandre was sentenced on July 18th, so he pled guilty. Speaking on Alexandre's sentencing, U.S. Attorney Damian Williams stated, Eddie Alexandre defrauded tens of thousands of ordinary investors of almost $250 million in his cryptocurrency investment scam. Alexandre's fraud was brazen and included fabricating weekly investment returns of at least 5% out of thin air and falsely claiming to use artificial intelligence trading technology that did not even exist. Most egregiously, Alexandre recruited many of his investors by exploiting his position of trust within his church and the Haitian community, even going so far as to enlist members of the church to help recruit MNFX investors. Okay, Eddie Alexandre made appearances at Haitian churches with the MNFX branding. Okay, as today's sentence demonstrates, cryptocurrency executives who lie and cheat their customers will be held accountable for their crimes. And that was something said by the DA in that case. MNFX was an MLM crypto Ponzi scheme launched in late 2021. The Ponzi scheme pitched weekly returns to investors purportedly derived via Forex trading. In reality, what little trading Alexandre did engage in resulted in substantial losses. Investor funds were used to perpetuate a classic Ponzi scheme, with Alexandre skimming off the top. Okay, instead of using investors' funds as he had promised, Alexandre also misdirected at least approximately 14,700,000 to his personal bank account. For example, Alexandre used 155,000 in investor funds to purchase a BMW car for himself and spent an additional 13,000 of investor funds on car payments, including to Mercedes-Benz. MNFX and Alexandre primarily targeted Haitian communities in the U.S. In addition to that, MNFX was promoted by people in the United States. In what is a rare instance of authorities shutting down an MLM Ponzi scheme before it collapsed, the FBI, DOJ, and CFTC moved against MNFX in May 2022. Alexandre's sentencing wraps up MNFX criminal proceedings. The CFTC civil case is still paying out. As of May 2023, the court appointed MNFX receiver had recovered 173 million out of the 260 million invested. So 260 million, I guess that you can call that a quarter of a billion. Yeah, quarter billion. So that's what happened with Eminem FX is basically he pleaded guilty. So right, instead of trying to find a way out of it, they must have got him like cold, dead to rights, and for whatever reason he pleaded guilty, and now he's going to prison for 9 years, right? Which if he's doing Fed time, he'll probably do most of that. But Fed time is easy time. He'll be playing tennis. He'll be playing golf, right? He'll be you can the blacks and the whites can share a cell together there. I mean, he's going to be doing some easy time. Okay, he's people rarely get stabbed in the feds. He's going to be doing some easy time. Three hots and a cot. But that's not necessarily the same thing that's going to happen with Novatech, right? No, we're not. You're comparing apples to oranges here, man.